This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot and I always sail with travel insurance. You should too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go. Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Doug Parker. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Cruise Radio. Very happy to have you here, my friend. A review of Norwegian Getaway this week, and staff writer Richard Sims on deck, as always, with cruise news. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Douglas.
We start with the second man overboard story of the year.
That's right, Doug. The first case was on January 1st. We kicked off the year with a 77-year-old man who went overboard as Holland America's New Stottendam was on its way back to Port Everglades. Now comes word that a 66-year-old passenger aboard Windstar's ship, the Star Breeze, went overboard. According to reports, the man jumped overboard at around 2 a.m., shortly after apparently being involved in a marital dispute as the ship was sailing around the islands of French Polynesia. Although the French Navy was called in and a search was mounted, the passenger was not located and is presumed dead. Of course, an investigation is underway to find out exactly what happened and how.
And we got a bit of a reminder that even when on a cruise, you've got to keep your guard up.
And your eyes on the road. This story came in over the Cruise Radio tip line. Apparently, 2 Carnival Sunshine guests rented a golf cart during their visit to the port of Grand Turk. And they were out tooling around when they were struck by a car. The driver was arrested for reckless driving, and fortunately, the cruisers only suffered mild injuries. They were able to get back to the ship in time for sail away, so I guess all's well that ends well. The ship is currently on a 6-night Bahamian cruise out of Norfolk, Virginia. But like we said at the top of the story, just remember that bad things can happen on vacation. You have to always be aware of your surroundings. And it's also another good reminder to always make sure you have travel insurance.
And next up, we have a little bit of a mystery surrounding a death which took place on a Royal Caribbean ship.
Yeah, there's not much really known details-wise, at least as we record this. We know that a 27-year-old male was found dead on board Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas. He was discovered around 6:30 in the morning. Well, actually, that's kind of when the police were called, while the ship was docked in Singapore. He was declared dead by the ship's doctor, and the Singapore police do not suspect foul play. But that's about all we know. It's unclear if he was in his cabin or somewhere else on the ship. While they say there was no foul play suspected, they don't mention a cause of death. And we know that within hours of the body being found, the ship set sail on its next 3-day cruise. That's literally the full extent of information at this time, with no real indication of whether or not we'll learn more in the days to come.
And if your ship is heading to Mexico, we have a new warning about something that you definitely need to leave on board.
Yeah, this is a really interesting story, and it confused me for a minute, but then I finally was able to sort it out. So Mexico's been doing a pretty big crackdown on all things related to smoking over the past few years. Now they've passed a sweeping bit of legislation which penalizes all activities related to electronic cigarettes, vaping devices, and the kind of various accessories associated with them. Here's where things got confusing. The law says that personal possession and consumption is still legal as long as there is no intent to sell. So that leads to the question, why are we saying that you should not bring your vapes on off the ship and ashore? Here's why. Technically, the minute you bring a vape or associated products off the ship, you are importing it. That is basically against the law now. So you are being considered, it's treated as if you intend to sell it, whether you do or not. You are importing a product into the country. And while you're probably not looking to sell your vaping device, the law might see it differently. So being caught with a vape could land you behind bars or see you paying a really significant fee. This isn't really particularly surprising coming out of Mexico, because back in 2023, they actually put in place a very significant ban against smoking or vaping on beaches, in parks, and in any enclosed public space. So, there is, of course, a chance that you could get off the ship and be perfectly fine because nobody notices. But I personally strongly would suggest before getting off the ship, if you have any of that type of thing, make sure you remember to take it out of your purse or your backpack or wherever, just so you don't, take any chances because, hey, we're not coming to bail you out. That's what I'm saying.
So just to be clear, you can take your vape on a ship because there's dedicated vaping spaces around the ship. But just if you're going to Mexico, Costa Maya, anywhere, other side, Puerto Vallarta, leave it on the ship, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
You're welcome to bring it on board, but make sure you leave it on board when you're heading to any port in Mexico.
And two big development plans in Tampa are getting a lot of attention, although not all of it is positive.
So despite what they say in Texas about bigger being better, that's not always true. And it's certainly the case where some of the cruise ships that we're seeing these days are concerned when it comes to docking in Tampa. See, in order to get to the Tampa-based cruise port, you have to go under the Skyway Bridge, which some of the current and upcoming megaships, they just can't do it. They're too big. So a development company is proposing building a multi-berth port just before you get to the bridge. And as with any proposal regarding new ports these days, there are obviously those who oppose the project. But there's also a second project being proposed. This one is for an island destination on a nearby second piece of property that's known as Ed's Key Island. If this plans go through, it would turn Ed's Key Island into what they're calling a support hub for the new proposed cruise port. Basically, it would be a place for people to go either before or after their cruise and feature like a beach club and a tiki bar and a water taxi terminal so that you could take people to either Tampa or St. Pete. The current owners recognize that this is a sensitive environment and they're saying, we'll be very respectful of that. But already there's a petition to try and stop the project, and it's garnered like around 7,000 signatures as we record this on change.org. So just to be clear, it is two completely separate projects, one of which is piggybacking off the other. The first is a proposal for basically a cruise port on the other side of the bridge for the ships that couldn't go under the bridge. And then nearby on a 12-acre piece of land right near it, they're also proposing sort of a little private island kind of thing.
Kind of a curveball here. We don't have this question, but change.org, what exactly does that do? I remember when Carnival changed their reward program last June, there were like 12,000 signatures on change.org. Don't think it did much, but what is the whole purpose of it?
It's basically like any other petition. If you get 6 signatures on your petition, you're not going to get any attention. If you put up a petition on change.org and you get thousands of petitions, it gives you a stronger rallying base. Gotcha. It also sort of serves a secondary purpose in that usually, whether it's change.org or other similar platforms, they are gathering information from you. You can just sign it, but usually they ask you to put an email, that kind of thing. And so if, as this moves forward, they're trying to rally the troops, it gives them a way of reaching out and contacting people. But I think the thing that it mostly does is it is now recognized as sort of a legitimate petition for platforms, as opposed to, just Joe Schmo pasting something on his website. This is a site that is known to really help people organize things.
And speaking of mega ships, another one is officially under construction.
Personally, I'm all for the cruise lines maybe dialing back on the huge mega ships a little bit, but Royal Caribbean, like other lines, is going full steam ahead. They've just cut the first steel on their 5th Icon-class ship, which will be delivered in 2028. The first ship in this class was, of course, Icon of the Seas, which rolled out in 2024. That was followed by Star of the Seas in 2025. Coming up next will be Legend of the Seas, expected to debut in 2026. There's also a 4th ship set to hit in 2027, and this 5th ship rolling out in 2028. Just in case that's not enough, they also have options to build a 6th and 7th ship in this particular class. Doug, what's your take on this class? I won't lie, I'm kind of intimidated by them.
I don't want to say it's something to be intimidated by. I've only been on one of them, but the passenger flow has been fairly easy to get around. It never really felt too crowded. That's one thing Royal Caribbean has done with their mega ships going back to the first Oasis class ship in '09, that you don't really feel like there's 5, 6, 7,000 people on board. So I don't know, as long as there's enough ports and you're not stressing out communities, bringing these behemoths in, do what you want to do.
What about disembarkation? Because I mean, I was just on breakaway a couple weeks ago, the Norwegian ship, and that was for, quite a fewer people than you will see on one of these icon ships, and disembarkation was a mess. And so with that many people on a ship, the idea of disembarkation just seems crazy.
It is fast, it's efficient, it's streamlined. I don't know, nothing against NCL, but everything that they do, debark, water shuttles, every day's day one with them, it seems like.
Good point.
Yeah, so we'll see. Let's see what else we have here. Finally, when Margaritaville at Sea's newest ship begins sailing next year, so early 27, it'll introduce several new venues.
Yeah, it makes sense that they would be introducing new bars because the Beachcomber, which will sail out of Miami starting in early 2027, is going to be a much bigger ship than the ones they're currently sailing. So yes, they will continue to have, the bars that have been popular on their ships, like the 5 o'clock somewhere bar and the License to Chill bar. But there are also going to be 7 new places to get your drink on, including the Poolside Daiquiri Shack, which will specialize in, well, you know what? I'm not even going to finish that sentence. You should be able to figure it out. There will be a Polynesian lounge leaning into tiki-style drinks, as well as a speakeasy with I'm guessing this is the name of a song, Cowboy in the Jungle, because that's just an odd name, but the speakeasy is going to be named Cowboy in the Jungle. It'll have limited seating available on a first-come, first-served basis. It sounds a little bit like it might be them trying to do sort of a version of Trader Sam's Grog Grotto over at Disney's Polynesian Resort. There's also the La Di Da Juice Bar and Floridays, which will highlight food and drinks inspired by Florida's culinary culture. Doug, as our resident Florida expert, what is Florida's culinary culture?
I have no clue.
I think seafood. I'm going to guess seafood.
Okay.
Seems
I can
like
see
a good
that.
guess.
Listener question this week comes from Daryl up in Wyoming. Cold up there this time of year in Wyoming. I heard that the pier at Norwegian's Great Stirrup Cay is only partially complete, but it is open. Now, Richard, you were just there. So what kind of context can you give us?
I can give you lots of context. First of all, I can tell you that Wyoming is not the only place it's cold, as I have about 2 feet of snow outside my door right now. But yes, excuse me. I was there a couple weeks ago, and the pier is open. I will say this. If you have been to Great Stirrup Cay in the past, and it was sort of before they started this renovation, it is almost completely unrecognizable. And I mean that in the best way possible. The pier is a little janky at the moment because, they really wanted to have this open by a certain time, and they sort of missed their original deadline. And then I heard that they sort of vowed to have a Christmas miracle and have it open in time for Christmas, which they did. And so when I was there a couple weeks ago, the pier is definitely open. It's not completed. You can tell that even the pier that is open is not completed. It's hard to describe. It's sort of wood, but it feels temporary. It doesn't feel like a finished product, but it leads from the ship directly to the island. And then you get to this gorgeous, beautiful, still being built sort of greeting area where they have trams that will take you all over the island. The new lagoon is huge and beautiful, with swim-up bars at either end. The Vibe Shore Club, which is an on-beach extension of the Vibe Beach Club on board, is open. There's still a lot to be done. They still have the whole water park, the adult water park to build. The children's water park is done and very cool. But yeah, the pier is open, and it really does make a huge difference. It should certainly drastically cut down on the number of ships which have to skip the island. You also can tell, even just in the state that it's in right now, you can see how it will be when the rest of the pier is completed and where the second ship will go. They might even be able to do 3 ships, but I think they're only doing 2 if I'm not mistaken. And I was slightly worried about capacity on the island, but with one ship that was completely sold out on the island, it didn't seem crowded at all. So it's easy to see a second ship coming in there.
All right. Staff writer Richard Sims, thanks for the information. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll be here.
You're listening to Cruise Radio, America's trusted voice of the cruise industry.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
Have a tip or a lead on a news story? Let us know. Email tips@cruiseradio.net.
Scott just returned from a 3-night cruise aboard Norwegian Getaway, round trip out of Miami over to the Bahamas. He joins us on the line. Hey, Scott.
Thanks, Doug.
Let's jump right in, Scott. Give me some pre-cruise thoughts. What made you want to take this 3-nighter out of Port Miami?
Well, we wanted to spend Christmas at home, so and I would just have a short window, about 2 weeks of my winter break, and so we decided to go the 2nd to the 5th. I could even get to work on Monday, just a couple hours late, and do it that way. So yeah, we had a nice Christmas break, and then this was a nice way to end it.
So you drove over to Port Miami to embark Norwegian Getaway. Any pre-cruise time over there before you boarded?
No, we came in that morning. We're in West Palm Beach. Of course, the Miami traffic's always awful. We actually wish, as it turns out, we would have taken the tri-rail. Or our original plan was to have our daughter drive us and take the tri-rail home. And then I'm like, well, it's a 3-night cruise. $25 a night parking, that's not too bad. And then it turns out the parking was $35 a night. So that really annoyed me. So yeah, we ended up paying more in parking. And plus we had to fight all the traffic too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you ever take Brightline down to Miami?
We haven't taken it to Miami. We've taken it from West Palm Beach to Orlando, and that's really nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Brightline's a little more expensive. Tri-rail, I guess, is the economy way to go.
So the difference is that what Tri-rail is like a local commuter train, and then the Brightline is pretty much, a high speed.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So the Tri-rail has lots of stops. So, you stop in, 5 different places in Palm Beach County and some in Broward, and then on down. So the Brightline is almost a straight shot. So it takes quite a bit longer on the Tri-rail.
When you go to, when you're driving to Port Miami and parking, do you prepay the parking or do you pay on the way out?
Yeah, we pay on the way out.
Okay.
So that's where I got my surprise, is when I handed the guy my ticket, and he told me the price, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. But anyways, I guess they raised it to $35 a day at some point. So if we ever go back down there for a 7-day, we'll definitely have to make alternate plans.
You make your way to the port there to board the ship. How was embarkation there for Norwegian Getaway, and how long did it take you to get from the curb to the ship?
Embarkation was pretty easy. At first, didn't look like it. There was a huge line outside, but then it moved pretty fast. And then when we got up through the security line and the x-rays and stuff, there actually was a line for Casinos at Sea, which had no one in it. And since I had booked through Casinos at Sea, I went right up to the front. We got our C-Pass cards and right on. So I'm thinking 15 minutes, maybe curbside to ship, something like that. So that was pretty good.
What were your first impressions walking on board Norwegian Getaway? Because this breakaway class ship, it's like when you're boarding, if my memory serves me correctly, you're not actually getting dumped into the atrium. You're either forward or aft of it. But as you make your way in there, what are your first impressions?
Well, we'd been on the breakaway before, so yeah, it was no surprises there. Yeah, they definitely want to. You kind of dump right in by the elevators is where they have you, and then they're really pushing you to go straight to your muster station. And so we got in, got the muster station. Well, first thing you always do is go to the buffet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, I thought it was a clean ship. It was, no complaints.
What kind of stateroom did you book for this 3-nighter, and how did it play out for y'all?
I was actually quite surprised. The guy from the casinos at sea is like, "Oh, I really took care of you," and he really did. We had what's called a club balcony, which is a little better than your normal balcony, a little bigger. Lots of storage space, and the bathroom was the big thing because it was a lot bigger than the usual bathroom, and it actually had a tub. So we were quite shocked by that. So yeah, it was very nice. I mean, the balcony was small, of course. We don't really use the balcony that much, but we like kind of the freedom of having the balcony.
What deck were you on?
We were on deck 12.
Deck 12. Now, is that close? Like, if you're on deck 12 on Norwegian Getaway, is it like a halfway point where you're kind of close to food going up and the activities going down?
I guess, yeah. So we're 3 floors down from the buffet, and then we're 4 floors above the top floor of the atrium area. So, yeah, I thought it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. How was the food there in the Garden Cafe, the buffet for NCL? And did it ever feel too crowded during your 3-night cruise?
Well, the only time we used it was embarkation day lunch and everyday breakfast. And so, of course, embarkation day is always crowded. So that was crowded getting the lunch there that day, and we embarked a little late, about 11:30 or so. So we were kind of hitting the peak hour or two of the lunchtime. So that was pretty crowded, and finding a table, of course, we had to go kind of out by the pool area to find a table to eat at. But thought the food was really good, actually. One thing, I always pick out between cruise lines, and one of my favorite things always is the roasted tomatoes at breakfast. Carnival and Royal Caribbean, neither of them have roasted tomatoes anymore. And so I'm very happy. We hadn't been on NCL in about a year and a half. And so we were quite happy to have those roasted tomatoes for me.
You have 3 dining choices on NCL there on Getaway. Which dining room did you go to?
So we ended up going to Taste, which is one of the smaller ones. Taste and the other one
Savor.
are right across from each other. And then Manhattan Room is down the ways a little bit. So we went to Taste. I mean, they're all essentially the same. We had good food at the main dining room. I was actually quite impressed. We did have one night of specialty dining included in our cruise, and we chose Le Bistro for that. And that was excellent. I had the lamb chops, and my wife had the pork chops. And so we really liked that. We had heard on the main dining room about, you get a second entree and you'd get charged extra. And so I didn't end up doing that, but they pretty much let you do extra appetizers. And so I usually got 2 appetizers. Even the one night the lady offered me, I said that I really liked the bruschetta, and she brought me another bruschetta, so I ended up with 3 appetizers that night.
Oh, wow.
And so I guess that's a little trick to get around the extra fee if you're still hungry. We do Le Bistro this time. It came down to Ocean Blue or Le Bistro, so we chose the Le Bistro, and it didn't disappoint.
How about the local, or is it still called O'Sheehan's on this one?
Yeah, it's O'Sheehan's, and that's kind of the go-to, after dinner snack or lunchtime, mid-afternoon snack, things like that. So they got good fish and chips. They've got nachos. I didn't have the burgers this time or the hot dogs, but yeah, I had fish and chips one day, and I had nachos the other day, and they got good pretzel bites too.
So the entertainment on board, how did it play out for the 3 nights?
We went to they had a Fleetwood Mac concert, cover band, and they were good. That's the only show we went to. But then, they have the musicians on board, and they had a guy doing who was pretty good. He did Billy Joel one night. He did Elton John another night, and then he did One Hit Wonders another night. So he was pretty good, and he was on the piano. We came in, and just after he had started, and I wrote on a napkin, a request on the Billy Joel and put it on his piano, and he went right into that song. So
Nice.
That was cool. He was taking requests and stuff. So the Fleetwood Mac in the theater is the only show that we actually did in the theater.
It's a great show too.
Yeah.
It really is.
My only complaint is the hot tubs were always full, and they never emptied out. So there was actually 4 hot tubs, and there was one in the Spice H2O, and they were all always full. So I guess if you don't get in them early, then so the jacuzzi space was not good, but then everything else, as far as finding a chair and all that, it was in the 70s. So to me, in Florida, it wasn't swimming weather, but there were people in there swimming and stuff. It was probably high 70s on Sunday. So that was pretty nice. The crowds weren't too bad. The jacuzzi space, that was the issue with me personally.
You did Nassau and Great Stirrup Key on this one. So which port was up first?
Nassau was first.
How was your day there?
We decided to get off. It went from 8 to 5:30. And so, usually what I do in Nassau is I jump on a water taxi and go over to Atlantis and gamble a little bit, and then come back and have lunch and shop and things like that. We ended up not getting off until about lunchtime, and so we take a city bus over to the fish fry. It's $1.50 a person on the city bus. And instead of $5 a person on a cab, so we ate at O Andros and we got the fried snapper, which is really good. Yeah, it comes right in front of you with the head still on it and everything. So really good fried snapper there. And then we walked around, shopped a little bit, and then we caught a taxi back. There's a little liquor store on the way back. And so that's the only place I can ever find vanilla rum. And you can't even find vanilla rum hardly ever in the States. So I got some vanilla rum. The taxi driver, stopped and waited, and I ran in and grabbed it and got it out. Then we went to the straw market and got a couple T-shirts and things, and then just kind of headed back in. So it was a nice day.
When you're boarding the ship with that vanilla rum, is NCL taking that from you and you picking it up, or are they delivering it to you the last night, or do they just trust you with it?
Yeah, they confiscated it,
Okay.
and I had to pick it up the last night, unfortunately. But we were bringing it for home anyways.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then your next port, or your final port, you only had 2 on this itinerary, was Great Stirrup. Now I understand that when you went just last week, they had the new pier done and also the enhancements done to the island.
It's still all a work in progress, but the pier is open. I wouldn't call it done, but it's open. So it is able to dock 1 ship right now. And so, I mean, that's a real game changer. I just hated the tenders at that port. And so, so you get off and you walk down, and they have a tram that takes you closer to the beach, or there's a bridge going over the little the place where the tenders used to park. It goes over that and gets you towards the pool area and the beach area. So they do have grand plans. They had pictures of what their grand plans look like. So the pool is done, and the pool's really nice. They got a swim up bar and everything. The water was a little cold. I actually didn't go swimming. The weather was pretty nice, but the water was cold. And they have a new kids pool area. And then, they have, according to all their signage and everything, by summer 26, they're going to have all of the water slides and all that stuff. So it's basically the old island with, all the beaches and stuff. And they have the zip lining, which you have to pay for. And then they added in the pool and the kids area, which has the little water slides and little buckets to dump water on you and things like that. So it's definitely coming along. But having the pier is a real game changer. I'm actually excited to see all of the enhancements that they're going to have by next summer.
Did you walk off the path and take a peek behind any of the curtains over there to see how the progress is coming along?
I actually didn't, no. But we just grabbed lunch and we stayed by the pool. I did walk around quite a bit, all the way down the beach and everything. There was plenty of chairs. So, I mean, it goes on quite a while. I mean, they could easily accommodate two ships in there as far as much space as they have. And then the chairs by the pool, we didn't have any trouble finding any either.
What is the lunch situation like on Great Stirrup Cay?
It's a barbecue type situation, but they also have a taco bar. And so they had tacos, and then they had nachos, which were like the O'Sheehan's nachos, although the cheese was not warm. And then they had burgers, hot dogs, chicken, and corn on the cob. So they didn't have French fries, which was a little bit of a disappointment. But the lunch was fine. I had a burger and I had a taco, which I thought were good.
You mentioned the pier was only partially completed, and from the photos you sent me, I gathered that it's going to hold multiple ships, but only one can dock there right now?
That's what it looks like, yeah. So it's definitely still under construction. And the interesting thing, and I don't know if this is permanent or not, but it looks like it's like plywood screwed into the cement where you walk. So I'm not sure why that is, or if that's going to be a permanent, but you wouldn't think so. But it's like a wooden walkway over the cement pier. So I'll have to see, at a future date what the finished product looks like. But they had it docked, and the ropes went all the way to shore, which had to be like 200 yards. It's amazing how much in rope they must have on that ship. The ropes were stretched all the way, so they must not have permanent fixtures to rope it to the pier as well right now. They made the promise that they were going to have it done by Christmas, and I think they were really, really intent on keeping that promise. And so it's perfectly functional, but it's definitely just not quite done yet.
Back on board, we skipped over the casino there. How was the casino as far as the smoke situation in and around it?
So the casino is really big. There is a non-smoking part of the casino, which is like a glass room. I'll tell you what, there was a ton of people vaping. I didn't see a whole lot of people smoking. So, I mean, I guess it didn't bother me that much. And the setup isn't like some where you have the smoke where it leaks out into other areas of the ship and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a ton of people vaping though.
Does the casino bar have digital blackjack?
Okay, I'm gonna have to tell you that I don't even know that. I don't even know the answer to that question. I don't think I went to the bar. I do know that the casino was completely packed, and every night it was completely packed, and finding a waiter was almost impossible. So yeah, I was actually in the high limit room, and we asked for a waiter, and usually you can get one, and like 2 hours later we still hadn't seen one. But it was kind of funny. I mean, there was it was a wild time in the casino. And I'll tell you, there was a group of about 220 somethings, all from the same company. And they were having a wild time, I can tell you, in the casino. I mean, and not in a bad way, but yeah, they were having a wild time, and they were high rolling, and so I think this must have been their company outing or something. But yeah, it was actually quite a fun time, and since I was at the table with a bunch of them, they learned my name, and then around the ship, I kept hearing my name being called and stuff. So it was kind of fun and funny.
Or with NCL's casino program, I know every cruise line operates there is entirely different. Are casino offers disclosed like while you're playing, or is anything popping up on the screen? For instance, I was on Star Princess and they had these digital TVs throughout the casino, and it was saying, get 3,000 points and get a 7-night interior with $300 free play or whatever like that. Does NCL disclose any of that while you're playing?
See, I don't think so. I don't do slots, so I didn't like have my card in a machine or anything. But I know, like with Royal Caribbean, you could ask, and they'll say, "Okay, you are at 1,200 points, and you need 1,500 for a free cruise or something like that." So, I actually did. That first night was like I was saying, was kind of a wild night at the tables, and we were playing at the baccarat table, and everyone was just shoving money all over the place. And I actually got a card on my door the next morning saying $500 off your next cruise. Nice. So they must have liked my play.
Yeah.
So they're obviously keeping track. But yeah, I don't know if there's any point system that I could actually tell.
Yeah. Well, you make your way back to Port Miami. How was debark?
Yeah, we've had NCL debarks, which have been terrible, and this one actually was pretty good. So not bad at all. We did a pretty early. I was trying to get back to work by 11-ish, and so we got off about 8. Not that long a line. It was probably 20 minutes from, starting your exit process, getting in line, and getting your bags and getting out. Then we had to get to the parking garage and all that. But yeah, the whole facial recognition is such a game changer, because you don't have to dig out your passport and all that kind of stuff, and it just recognizes you and you walk right through.
Any first-time tips to offer someone who is sailing Norwegian Getaway or going to Great Stirrup for the first time?
Anything with Norwegian, you got to watch a little bit with the nickel and diming type stuff. We've been on probably 10 Norwegian cruises, and we kind of know what to watch out for. And I wasn't going to nitpick, but it does say I'm an emerald. I think I'm emerald, no, platinum. And it does say on there you get 1 free water, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And so I took one out of the refrigerator, and I got charged $4.50 for it. So I wasn't going to go wait in the customer service line to get $4.50 back. But, the little bit of that, of the little bit of the nickel and diming. I really like to do the sauna, and unfortunately, I went up there the first day, and they have a sauna, the hot tub therapy stuff they have, and you got to pay $228 for the 3 days to to use that stuff. So I obviously opted not to do that. So that was a little disappointing. One thing about the Getaway is there's places you might not find if you're not looking for them. So, explore around. I found just by happenstance like a card room and a library, and way down at the end of the atrium area, there's a replica of the ship, which is kind of neat. And there's a little bowling alley over kind of on the other side of O'Sheehan's, which you might not even go through. I would just say, make sure you explore everything carefully, because there's actually some hidden things in there.
Since you've sailed quite a few NCL sailings, have you been able to see, they've been very public about cutting back entertainment, and you're seeing a lot of performers who are in the musical quartet or whatever the show is called, playing in other areas around the ship. Did you notice any of that, or any of the cutbacks on the entertainment and programming side?
I don't know if it's just a 3-night cruise thing, but there were no like Broadway type productions. I mean, we've been on other ships where they've had just, huge Broadway type productions. Mm-hmm. So there was none of that on this one. Yeah. So yeah, maybe. I can't say that I've saw the performers on other parts of the ship, but I wasn't really looking for that.
How integrated is the app into the Getaway experience?
Not that great. Mm-hmm. So they do have paper copies of the agenda, which are fine. If it's on the app, it's tough to find. And then the other thing that was kind of annoying, on other cruise lines, you can text message back and forth between your party. If they had that on this, I wasn't able to find it. Mm-hmm. And I did go ask, and they said something about $6.99 a day or something. And so I decided not to do that. So we did have a little trouble finding each other sometimes, my wife and I, because we didn't have that message type thing just to let them know where we're at or whatever. I'm not that crazy about the app.
Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for y'all?
Specialty dining was really nice. It was just relaxing, and on Great Stirrup Cay, we just picked out a chair by the pool and read our books, and we were right by the bar, and it wasn't crowded, getting drinks and stuff all the time. So, just the relaxing time was nice. I did use the cigar bar one night. I'm not a huge cigar smoker, but maybe about 3 a year, and so used the cigar bar, which was nice. And then, O'Sheehan's, did have the NFL games on. It was packed those nights with the NFL games, and so, of course, I'm a Detroit fan. That game was on. They won. It was nice to have the NFL games, because I've been on cruise ships where, the only sports you see are European soccer or something. Mm-hmm.
Well, in closing here, Scott, your final thoughts of Norwegian Getaway.
Yeah, it's a nice ship. We've been on the Sky 3 times. We've been on the Pearl. We've been on the Epic. It's better than all of those ones. We've been on the Viva, and of course the Viva is new and much better than this. But I like the Breakaway class. It's a big ship, but you know what? It never seemed like took us that long to get to the room from wherever we were. So, yeah, I was pleased with it.
All right. We've been talking with Scott about his 3-night sailing on Norwegian Getaway round trip out of Miami over to the Bahamas. Scott, always good talking to you, my friend. Thanks for sharing your vacation with us.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, Give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,